All right, let's dive into something pretty fascinating. It's about samurai, but with a twist.
Oh, a twist.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking at some excerpts from the Samurai Wikipedia page, just for some background.
Sure.
And then we've got this incredible BBC article called The True Story of Japan's Samurai City That Chose Art Over War.
Okay, so not your typical blood and guts samurai story.
Not exactly. This is about a city full of samurai who decided to pursue art instead of warfare.
That sounds really interesting. It definitely challenges the image we usually have of samurai, as these fierce warriors.
Right. We think of swords and battles. But this story shows a different side to their culture, like how they used art strategically, especially during a really pivotal time in Japanese history.
I see. So let's set the scene a bit.
Okay, so we're talking about Japan's Warring States period.
Ah, right. A very chaotic time.
Yeah, from 1467 to 1615, so almost 2 centuries of constant conflict between rival daimyo. Those feudal lords who were always battling for control.
Right. Shifting alliances, constant power struggles. It finally ended in 1603 when Tokugawa Ieyasu established the shogunate and ushered in the Edo period.
The Edo period. So that's when things started to settle down, right?
Exactly. A period of unification and peace. But for powerful clans, like the Maida clan we're going to be talking about, this new era presented a real dilemma.
Because they had to figure out how to fit into this new power structure.
Exactly.
So who were the Maeda?
Well, they ruled the Kaga domain, that's present-day Ishikawa and Toyama prefectures.
Okay.
And they were in power for a long time, from 1583 to 1868.
Wow, to the very end of the shogunate.
Yeah, and they were incredibly wealthy.
I read they were the second wealthiest clan in all of Japan.
Second only to the Tokugawa themselves.
And their wealth was measured in koku, right?
Yeah, essentially rice production. That was the basis of wealth and power back then.
Okay, so they're this powerful, wealthy clan. But what was their dilemma?
Well, here's the thing. The Maida had actually been rivals of Tokugawa at one point.
Oh, interesting. So even though they were now allies under the new shogunate, there was still this history between them.
Exactly. And the Maida, they had a lot of resources, a formidable arsenal.
Oh, I see. So from Tokugawa's perspective, they could still be seen as a potential threat.
Right. So the Maida are walking this tightrope. They need to demonstrate loyalty to the new shogun,
While also making sure they don't appear too weak or lose their influence.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance.
So what did they do?
Well, this is where things get really fascinating. Instead of, focusing on their military strength, they made a strategic decision. They poured their resources into arts and crafts.
Whoa. So they basically traded in their swords for paintbrushes.
In a way, yes. It was a calculated display of soft power. Instead of military might, they're showcasing their dedication to culture and peace. It was a way of signaling their peaceful intentions to Tokugawa.
Wow, that's a really clever strategy.
It was, and it had a lasting impact. The city of Kanazawa, which was the Maeda's capital, became a center for art and craftsmanship, and it remains so to this day.
So basically, we can walk through the streets of Kanazawa today and see the legacy of this decision made centuries ago.
Exactly. Beautiful ceramics, lacquerware, silk dyeing, all these exquisite crafts, all thanks to the Maida clan's choice to embrace art over war.
Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but I have to ask.
Yeah.
Wouldn't some samurai have seen this focus on art as a sign of weakness? Like, wasn't it kind of counter to their whole warrior identity?
Well, it's important to remember that this wasn't a sudden overnight shift. The Maida clan had a history of patronizing the arts, even during times of war.
Oh, okay, so this wasn't a complete abandonment of their warrior traditions.
No, not at all. It was more of a strategic realignment. They framed it as a different kind of strength.
One that reflected a truly powerful clan.
Exactly. So they were able to appeal to both the traditionalists and those who saw the wisdom in this new approach.
So they weren't abandoning their warrior identity, they were expanding it.
Right. It was like they were redefining what it meant to be a samurai in this new era of peace.
That's fascinating. So they managed to maintain their influence, aligned with the shogunate's values, but also maintained their unique identity.
Exactly. It was a very clever play, almost like a game of political chess, using art as their strategic weapon.
And the BBC article mentioned a specific place that really embodies this blend of warrior tradition and artistic refinement.
Oh, are you talking about the Nomura residence?
Yeah.
In the Nagamachi Samurai District?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine walking through those rooms,
Yeah.
seeing displays of samurai armor and swords right alongside beautiful gardens and peaceful tea rooms.
It's a visual representation of that balance they cultivated. You can almost feel the echoes of their warrior history in conversation with this pursuit of artistic beauty.
It's incredible. And it's not just about the past, right?
No, Kanazawa is still very much alive with this artistic heritage. Places like the Kanazawa Tatsuyama Koge Kobo, a craft school that carries the torch of the original Osaikusho, show that this commitment to art is woven into the very fabric of the city.
Okay, so tell me more about this Osaikusho. What was it?
It was a workshop established by the Maeda lords to nurture the development of various crafts. They brought in talented artisans from all over Japan.
Wow, so they were really investing in this.
They were. And it wasn't just about preserving tradition, it was about pushing those boundaries, encouraging innovation.
So it was about evolution, not just preservation.
Exactly. And that same spirit is alive today. The artisans of Kanazawa are adapting, finding new ways to make these traditions relevant in the 21st century.
Just like the samurai adapted to a new era.
Exactly. But it's not without its challenges.
Because the world is changing.
Yeah. Kanazawa, like a lot of places, is facing a shrinking population. Tastes are changing. It's a new kind of battle for these traditions to survive.
But it sounds like they're facing it with that same spirit of adaptation that those samurai had all those centuries ago.
They are. It's really inspiring to see.
I'm totally hooked. This is already blowing my mind.
Good, because there's so much more to uncover.
Well, let's keep diving in then.
All right, let's explore more of Kanazawa's artistic legacy and see how they've managed to weave together tradition and innovation.
I'm ready.
Okay, so to really understand how this art over war philosophy played out, let's look at a specific example. Kaga Yuzen.
Kaga Yuzen.
It's a style of silk dyeing, really beautiful, originated in Kanazawa during the Edo period. And guess who played a big role in its development?
The Maeda clan.
Bingo. They weren't just patrons, they were actively involved. They saw these crafts as a way to really boost their domain's prestige.
So they were investing in specific skills and techniques.
Exactly. Kage Yuzen is known for its intricate designs, vibrant colors. They use this resist dyeing technique that creates these incredibly detailed patterns.
I've seen pictures. Those kimonos are stunning.
They are works of art, basically. And the Maeda lords, they use them strategically.
How so?
Well, imagine a delegation from the Maeda clan arriving at the shogun's court, all decked out in these luxurious silks.
It's a statement.
Right, like, look at our level of sophistication. We're a clan of culture and taste.
Subtly asserting their power through art.
Exactly. And the amazing thing is, Kagayuzen is still going strong today. Master artisans keeping those traditions alive, but they're also innovating, bringing in modern designs, keeping it fresh.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Honoring the past, but also evolving.
Yeah. And there's this one artist, Hitoshi Maeda. He's a contemporary Kagayuzen artist.
His name rings a bell?
He's pretty well known, incorporates modern designs into those traditional techniques, uses bold, graphic patterns, unexpected color combinations, even brings in contemporary themes.
So he's bridging that gap between the past and the present.
He is, and there are others like him. A whole generation of young artists in Kanazawa who are reinterpreting these traditional crafts, making sure they have a place in the 21st century.
It's like they're adding their own chapter to the story that the Maeda clan started all those centuries ago.
They are. It's really inspiring to see.
Okay, so we talked about textiles, but the BBC article also mentioned ceramics.
Right. Kutaniware.
Kutaniware, what's that all about?
It's another one of Kanazawa's claims to fame, a style of ceramics, just as distinctive and beautiful as Kagayuzen. And surprise, surprise, the Maeda clan had a hand in it too.
Of course they did. They were like the ultimate art patrons.
They were. So Kutaniware, it's known for its bold colors, intricate designs. They use this special overglaze enameling technique that creates this rich, almost jewel-like finish.
Those colors must be incredible.
Oh, they are. And the designs often had symbolic meanings. Scenes from nature, mythical creatures, historical figures, kind of like those symbolic patterns you see in Kagayuzen.
Right.
And the Maeda lords, they used Kutaniware for diplomatic gifts, giving these beautiful pieces to the shogun, other powerful daimyo.
So it was like, hey, check out this amazing craftsmanship. We have good taste.
Exactly. Subtle messaging through art. But it wasn't just about aesthetics and diplomacy.
What else?
The Maeda lords were smart. They saw Kutaniware as a way to boost their local economy.
Okay, how?
They set up kilns, workshops, attracted skilled artisans to Kanazawa, and they created a whole industry that's still thriving today.
Wow, so it was an economic investment too.
Yeah. And the modern-day Kutani-ware artisans, they're just as innovative as those Kagayuzen artists. They're finding ways to balance that tradition with contemporary ideas.
Experimenting, pushing
Yeah.
boundaries.
Creating a dialogue between the past and the present. It's amazing.
Okay, so we've covered textiles and ceramics. What else was Kanazawa known for back then?
Well, there's lacquerware, another craft that really flourished under the Maeda clan's patronage.
Lacquerware, isn't that made with tree sap?
It is. But Kanazawa lacquerware, or kagamaki, it's really special, known for its intricate designs. They use gold and silver powder to create these amazing decorative effects. Very time-consuming, meticulous process.
So we're talking about some high-level craftsmanship here.
Oh, yeah. Imagine these beautiful lacquer boxes, trays, bowls, all adorned with delicate gold and silver details.
It sounds incredibly luxurious.
It was. And the Maeda lords, they used it to project that image of refinement and sophistication.
Makes sense. It's all part of that carefully crafted image.
Exactly. It wasn't just about individual objects. They were creating a whole aesthetic world, a reflection of their values, their vision for their domain.
It's really impressive.
It is. The Maeda clan, they understood something important. Art wasn't just about creating pretty things. It was a powerful tool.
To communicate, to shape perception.
Exactly. They were masters of visual storytelling. And their legacy. It's still felt today.
Absolutely. It makes you think, doesn't it? Those seemingly simple choices, investing in art, nurturing creativity, it had a profound impact, not just on their clan, but on the whole city of Kanazawa.
It's a testament to the power of art.
To shape not just objects, but entire societies.
You got it. And it reminds us that there's always another path, even in a world that can seem dominated by conflict. We can choose to create, to build, to connect through shared cultural experiences.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about how the Maeda clan shaped the arts in Kanazawa. But what about everyday life? How did this art over war philosophy play out in their daily routines?
Well, let's delve into that. See how those samurai in Kanazawa brought those artistic principles into the most ordinary aspects of their lives?
I'm all ears.
All right, so let's talk about something you might not expect. Swords.
Swords. But I thought we were talking about art, not war.
Well, remember, even though these samurai in Kanazawa chose art over war, they still had this deep respect for their warrior heritage.
Right. So their swords were still important to them.
Exactly. But during the Edo period, things shifted a bit.
How so?
The emphasis moved away from just the practical use of swords, for battle, and more towards the artistry involved in their creation.
Oh, interesting. So swords became more like works of art.
Precisely. They were highly prized possessions, often passed down through families, like heirlooms.
So they represented a connection to their past, their warrior ancestors.
Exactly. And even though they weren't using them in battle anymore, they were still incredibly discerning when it came to the quality of their swords.
So what were they looking for?
Well, it was all about the details. The quality of the steel, the balance of the blade, the elegance of the curve, and then the craftsmanship of the hilt and the scabbard. Those were often incredibly ornate.
So they were appreciating them almost like a fine sculpture or a painting.
Exactly. And Kanazawa had its own renowned swordsmiths, known for their exceptional skills.
Wow, so it was like a whole art form unto itself. The art of sword making.
It was. And it wasn't just swords. Their armor, even though it wasn't worn in battle anymore, it was still meticulously preserved, often displayed in their homes.
Really, like hanging on the wall as decoration.
Well, not exactly hanging, but yeah. They would display those suits of armor, often with intricate designs, family crests. It was a way of showcasing their history, their lineage.
Like those suits of armor were telling a story.
Exactly. They were tangible representations of their warrior past. And it shows how they were able to bridge that past with their present, their focus on art and culture.
That's really fascinating. So, okay, they still valued swords and armor. But what about everyday life? How did this artistic sensibility show up in their more ordinary activities?
Well, take writing, for example. Calligraphy was considered an essential skill for a samurai, and they approached it with the same dedication they brought to their swordsmanship.
So it wasn't just about putting words on paper.
No, it was about expressing oneself artistically through those brushstrokes. They would spend hours practicing, trying to perfect their technique.
Wow, so they were really serious about it.
Oh, absolutely. And there were different styles of calligraphy, each with its own aesthetic, its own philosophy.
It's amazing how much depth there is to all of this.
It is. And then there's gardening. They created these incredibly beautiful and serene gardens.
Oh, right. The BBC article mentioned those.
Yeah. They were meticulous about it, using rocks, water, plants, all arranged in a way that reflected their desire for harmony and balance.
So their gardens were like reflections of their inner worlds.
Exactly. It was almost like a form of meditation for them, cultivating inner peace through those outer expressions of beauty.
And those tea ceremonies we talked about, those must have played a big role in their daily lives as well.
Oh, absolutely. The tea ceremony, it was more than just a social gathering. It was a ritual, a way to connect with nature, to appreciate the present moment.
That sounds so peaceful.
It was. And all those elements we've been talking about, the calligraphy, the gardens, those beautiful Kutani-ware tea bowls, it all came together in the tea ceremony.
Wow, so it was a truly holistic experience.
It was, and I think that's what's so remarkable about the samurai of Kanazawa. They integrated those artistic sensibilities into every aspect of their lives.
It's a pretty inspiring story.
It is. It reminds us that strength isn't just about military power. It can be expressed through creativity, through culture, through a commitment to peace.
And that art has the power to transform, not just individuals, but entire societies.
Absolutely. The samurai of Kanazawa chose art over war, and they left behind a legacy that continues to inspire us today.
Well, there you have it. We journeyed to Kanazawa, explored the world of these art-over-war samurai, and uncovered a story that challenges our assumptions and invites us to think differently about what it means to be strong, to be powerful, and to create a lasting legacy. Remember those samurai, and let their story inspire you to embrace your own creativity, seek peace in your own life, and make the world a more beautiful place. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.